just because you have an understanding of the Bible in your head doesn't necessarily mean that you have Jesus in your heart.
Get right, get inside, get hungry, got appetite. Everlasting water, never get thirsty. To disputed lands, take a journey.
You are listening to Chad SCHAFER on Disputed Lands.
Hey guys, how's everybody going? Doing all right? Guess what? It's Monday night, and it means it's time for Disputed Lands. And for a few of our guests, it's going to be really weird for them tonight because instead of just being in the chat, they're going to join me on the show, and it's going to be great. There's going to be less of you in the chat by 2. That means I'm going to have an audience of 4 in the chat instead of the typical 8, because half of them are on the show with me tonight. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just introduce them. We have Karen right there on our screen, and of course we have, well, her name's Patricia, but to me she's Tricia, and Leisha, her daughter, and they're joining us tonight on Disputed Lands. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Thanks for having us, Chad.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to have you guys on here. I know it's kind of last minute for all of you ladies to come on here, but, you know, it's really nice to break up. I mean, the interviews are great. Don't get me wrong. I love interviewing people, getting to know new people and everything. But it really hit me as we were talking last night and really this week. Some of you guys may or may not know it, but I really go by my heart, essentially, on, you know, whether I really want to have another guest or not. And last week I had said April Ray was going to be on. Honestly, I just procrastinated getting April contacted. And as it turns out, tonight wasn't going to be a good night for her anyway. And I was like, that's good. That's good. I really just want to chit chat with some folks. I really just want to sit and talk. And so I thought, well, maybe just Ian and I will come on. And then we were chit chatting in the Disputed Lands prayer group there. And I was like, no. We got to have conversation with Take on the Worlders. And you ladies were the first ones to come to mind. Along with it, I was offering for people who hadn't been on here before. You ladies were so gracious in coming on here to just chit-chat with Chad. Say that 3 times real fast.
Chit-chat with Chad, chit-chat with Chad.
One more. Yes, 2.
Chit-chat with Chad.
They can talk, they just can't add. All right? That's all there is to it. I'm just kidding. Alicia's scared now. I can see it. Right away.
Oh
but,
my gosh.
Anyway, so ladies, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
It's exciting. Yeah.
Karen, for Karen, for those of you who may not know you, can you just give us a brief background of who you are, where you hail from, and that, so people can kind of know you just a little bit better?
Sure. That's always a tough question for me because I moved 2 weeks after I was born and never stopped moving. I was an
package stuff up as an
army
baby.
brat.
I mean, 2 weeks after you're born and they got you moving luggage.
Yeah, exactly. So I lived in like 5 states and 1 foreign country by the time I was 7, and moved around until I was about middle of high school. And then we finally settled down in California, went to college there, got my degree in architecture, and couldn't get a job in California. So I said, I'm an Army brat. I can live wherever. I can move wherever. Mm-hmm. And I drove to Idaho because people were hiring. And I've been here ever since. I met my husband at where I worked, designing log homes. He was a salesman. And let's see. I raised 2 stepchildren and then I have 2 children of my own that are in their teens now. And let's see, as far as my religious upbringing, I didn't really have, my parents were raised Christian, but didn't really attend church. It was kind of the Christmas, Easter kind of people. But when I was 10, I was invited to a church, the Church of the Nazarene, and I met some really wonderful people there. And Yah was already calling me out when I was, I want to say about 10. And he just really put it on my heart to know him. And so I just kept looking and looking, like, where are you? Where are you, God? and I found a home at that church for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved up to Idaho, I kind of stopped going to church. You know, I had done the wild roaming through college. And then when I had kids, I was like, you know what? I need to raise my kids knowing God, and started going back to church. And I was in, I don't know how many Bible studies. I was really hungry for the word, and I was starving in church. Even though it was a Calvary chapel, we went line by line, verse by verse, and I was still starving. So I was like in 3 or 4 Bible studies, and Yah just started calling me and was like, come do my feasts, come eat clean, come,
How long ago
come
was
know
that?
me. This was like 2009.
2009.
It started, yeah.
I see. Very good.
And so I just kind of kept following him wherever I thought he was leading me. And I would look one way and I'd be like, nope, that's not it. I kept trying to put a label on it and couldn't find it. And then I finally found a home with some people who were on the same walk as me. And I've been with them ever since.
So what was your first introduction to our gang of people, those of us out here in the hinterlands? Who was the first person you run across that kind of brought you into the group of people that we hang out with on a regular basis? Do you remember?
Oh, I was watching Now You See TV. And you had been on Now You See, you had started a show, you started Disputed Lands on Now You See TV. So you were one of those. Rob Skiba was doing the virtual house church.
Right.
And that's what really hooked me in, was him. I didn't even know who Rob Skiba was. Is that crazy? Except for virtual house church. And there were people in the chat after that would discuss the Torah portion. And I was like, I've got to know these people. I have to know these people. And I don't do Facebook, so I couldn't join the chat.
Right.
So for years, I actually asked my husband if I could use his Facebook account. And I was Scotty. I was Scotty C on the chat. And everybody was like, no, it's not Scotty, it's Karen. No, really, it's Karen. Scaren. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, so, that's awesome.
And then I had to meet those people in person. So right. I had to go to take on the world.
All right. Tricia, I struggle to call you Patricia now.
It's okay. Tricia, you know what not to call me.
Yes, very much so. That term is banned on World TV, except for those whose that is their name. So, Tricia, kind of tell us a little bit of your background and your story, kind of like what Karen did there, if you could. As much or as little as you want. There's no pressure to go into stuff you don't want to go into. Just kind of your upbringing and you know.
Yeah, kind of similar to Andrew. He, you know his name.
Andy, last week's guest?
Yeah, him. Grew up like Pentecostal, apostolic Pentecostal.
Okay.
Went to Nazarene church with some friends, but settled down in the Pentecostal church. My mom, she was pretty much the only believer in the family, but she didn't like denominations. She saw right through them. So she's a very strong-willed German woman, full-blooded German. So anyway, believed in God, but not really a relationship like we have now. She just didn't know the, truth, but she believes in God. So I had that part growing up, but I was alone. I was the only one in my family that went to church. Went to church with my best friend, grew up in it, believed that's all I knew. And then as I got a little older, realized, hey, things aren't right. These tongue-talking, spirit-filled people that criticize me for not having the Holy Spirit were living like, oh my God, hypocrites. And then, but I was the outcast because I didn't have the Holy Spirit. I'm like, then I don't want what you have if that's what it's all about. It's terrible. So left. Something happened and I left about 16 years old. I didn't go back. And then about 21, God called me back and he's like, so I went back to the same church and went there for several years. A lot happened. Married their dad. Well, I mean, she wasn't born yet, but their father, baby daddy. God. Yeah. I got married to him and then we had children. Okay. I got married to him and moved away to Illinois for a while. Ended up getting a divorce after 12 years. Came back to Indiana. Throughout that whole thing, I was still had my faith. And his family had a Pentecostal church there. You know the story. It's what's the word? They're legalistic. So I'm very familiar with all of that stuff. And came back here, another church. That's all I knew, Pentecostal church. So, and then finally came across my most recent one that I left and realized, hey, there's still not truth in there. So seeking the truth. And God the whole time. The biggest part was while I was going to my last church that I just left, I did receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So you have no idea what how much different life is when you have his spirit in you than when you didn't. I was always told that I had a part of the spirit, but never like the indwelling. That's what they taught. So, but anyway, once I did, you speak in tongues, blah, blah, blah. Well, that was terrible, blah, blah, blah. I didn't mean it that way. Will you smile or something?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay,
I'm listening.
yeah. So,
I'm listening.
Anyway, just change your dynamic. Things just open up. Your understanding opens up. How do you explain it? Go ahead, shoot for, when you have that spirit, you sense it in others. It's magnetic. And that's the thing about take on the word. I know I jumped from there to here, but you can, when someone else has the spirit of God in them. You know what I'm saying, Vern? You know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, Vern. One of the things I'd like to know is what was when the same question I asked Karen up there in the corner, I put her up there so she has a better angle to spit her food at me when we're talking because
you're trying to get it on Patricia. I know you, Chad.
This is just like putting her in prime firing position.
Let me just say, if you've been to Take on the World and you haven't laughed so hard that something has come out of your mouth, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you're not doing it right.
Go back and do it again.
Yeah, we got a few stories to tell on that. But I wanted to ask you, Tricia, the same question that I asked Karen. Is, how did you come across the Take on the World folks? I mean, what was your first introduction to someone that led you here to us?
That's what I was thinking. After I left, of course, you seek. So you get into these really weird new agey people. I'm like, what the heck is this? They have a little tiny bit of truth and they're like, wear these metallic gold things so you can have these frequencies and oh my God, I can't even tell you some of the things I've watched. I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. But anybody that's in the truth seeking movement, you had to start somewhere until you find, of course, Rob Skiba. You got to find Rob. He's just there. Love him. Absolutely loved man. And he's, oh my gosh, how many lives has he touched? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm one of them, found him. Like she said, the virtual house church, the, what did he do with Hamp? Quest for Truth. Yeah. Amazing. I didn't get to see all of it, but that's what I caught first was him. And then that just opened up a whole new, thing.
Now
And
you see
I don't know.
TV.
Yeah. I don't know how I got to Now You See TV. I'm trying to remember, but I have a very terrible memory. Yeah, the rabbit hole. Yeah. But anyway, that's how I learned about Take on the World. I think, if memory serves me correctly, and it never does,
Right.
I'm pretty sure that that's how I found the Take on the World was through the now. Did they advertise? They had to have advertised. Yeah.
Right.
And then it's like you go there, and I didn't know Chris and Liz from Adam, but once it's like boom,
Well, that'd be Chris and Liz from Adam and Eve.
Yeah, well. Yeah, okay, so hold on a second before we go.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, before we go any further, I have to share this, and I have to share this story.
I know.
So
I know there's no stopping.
Before I met, there's a little snippet of how I met Rob at the first Take on the World. Before I met you, so there's a Facebook. Okay, I made a Facebook account for a completely different reason, try to get to Israel. My husband wanted to sign up for something to get to Israel because I didn't do Facebook. I refused it. So we did a Facebook account, and then I don't remember who my first friend was, but followed. Anyway, so I'm on Rob's.
Laisha was first friend.
So anyway, it's too funny. So I'm on Rob Skiba's Facebook post, and something came up about Oompa Loompas, okay?
Yeah.
And so Chad starts commenting about it, and he posts this hilarious picture about it's something a flight. I don't remember, but it was Oompa Loompas pulling a plane, and I lost it. I think like you hackle. I hackle. Not anybody else that hackles. So anyway, instantly bonded. Just bonded right there. So he was my new. Chad was actually my first. He doesn't know it, but he's my best friend. So I'm sure he has my best friend.
I'm gonna love you and squeeze you.
So anyway, instantly bonded. So I actually, before I even made it to Take on the World, I'll share just a tiny little bit, a terrible situation in my life. Call him up. I messed, but you go because you're Messenger friends, because you're Facebook friends. Called him up bawling. I don't even know if he understood half of what I said because I was like bawling. And bless his heart, I think he was working, and his wife had to do something in the background. He was listening to me just patiently. It was the sweetest thing ever. So if you ever need a friend, Chad's the best. He just helped me through it. And then that was before I even met the guy. And then I met him at Take on the World. So it's fun.
Yeah. So my first time really where Karen, really her and Corinna were at the same time, that I had seen her around talking and going to the classes like a lot of people, but for me, it was really weird experience, more so at 2018 than 2017, because 2017.
I wasn't there in 2017.
Right. But 2017 was the first time I'd ever given the presentation on my book in front of that many people. What? Do I gotta?
You remember before your presentation, you're like, how am I going to do an hour so long presentation in 45 minutes? You remember what I said to you?
No, I don't.
Really, really fast, like an auctioneer.
But anyway, I'd done it at Denver already, but when I had done it at Denver, it was it was in a classroom, and there were like 8 people, I think, in the room. So it was really easy. It was just like doing a class, at church or something. It was no problem. But this was going to be in front of the whole room. And I don't know, Chris, Liz, you could probably say or Tricia, you were helping in the back. There was over 100 people in there. So it was pretty, so it was my first experience of having people know my name and not know theirs, really. People would say, hey Chad, how you doing? It's like, you don't realize it, but your first instinct is like trying to remember. It's involuntary. You're trying to remember, okay, where do I know you from? Where do you know you from? It's like, oh yeah, duh, Schaefer. They saw you on the show, but it took, that whole first conference getting through that before by the end of it, I was finally like, okay, so people are going to know my face because they probably saw the show or something like that. But it was still really weird for me. Now, go from the 2017 to the 2018 venue now. And then there was like, over 300 people there now. That's when, involuntary, again, it was really just weird. I didn't, I felt like I was on the stage and I should start dancing or something, people looking around. But in it, it was kind of fun too. I won't tell you about this, but Ian, I messed with him a little bit. So like 2018, Ian the Duck, right? So he's in here and he's got this full Arab garb on, right? I thought he was going to start singing Muslim chants or something. Because he just looked like he was straight Asian, straight from Mecca into the room. And but I could tell, I just love the guy. I could tell he wanted to talk to me because he would kept going down in the middle of the gym, right? You guys know where the gym was there and how all the booths were set up. And mine was over there by the window. And he would walk into the room over there, and I had seen him glance over, right? And he'd start to act like he was going to walk over and talk to me, and then he'd chicken out or whatever. And then he walked a little bit more, and he kept glancing over there. Well, he did this 2 times. I was like, oh, this guy wants to talk to me. The next time he walks by, I'm going to mess with him a little bit. So he's walking around this time. I could see him glance again as he was walking back the other way this time. So he got in the middle of the room. Next time he glanced at me, I went, like that. He just kind of listened. I waved him over. It's kind of like what I did. I waved him over, and he came and talked, and we got to know each other and everything. But he was just so shy and everything. But that was fun messing with him a little bit at that. But that was my first experience with him. Now, Karen, when she wrote stuck, I'd seen her walking around a little bit. I'll get to you in a second, Tricia. But Karen and I, and Corinna, who's in the chat, hopefully she remembered the time. Yeah, there she is. I see Corinna now. Karen and I all met. Really, the first time this stuck in my mind is I sat down and had lunch with them. I was just looking for a place to sit, and we sat down and had lunch. And I tell you what, my stomach hurt so bad after that lunch from laughing. I was in tears, and these ladies, Karen was spitting food across the table. Corinna was spitting food across the table. I had to put a napkin up from hitting me in the face. We laughed so hard. It was such a good time. I can't even remember what we were talking about, but it was just such a blast. And we were instantly bonded from that point forward. There was not going to be any break there. I just loved him to death. It was just the best. Now, of course, Tricia, I'm going to embarrass her just a little bit, but Tricia and her husband were there, and they're there. They've come for the conference, but they had the kitchen area in the back of the conference room there, and Liz was just asking, hey, does anybody want to volunteer? And from that point forward, Tricia and her husband were there serving food, cleaning up. They came for the conference, and they spent the whole time serving everybody else there. And you could just tell they were enjoying being able to be there and take care of everybody. I'd seen your post and everything else, Tricia, on Facebook, but that's when the impact on me, I was just like, oh, I love these people. These guys are after my own heart. They came to take in the conference and spent the whole time just serving everybody. And I thought that's the heart, right there, instantly bonded. And then, we got to talk a little bit throughout the conference too, a little bit, right just towards the end, I think, as we were breaking down, I got to talk to you and Monty, and we had heart to hearts and got to share and open up and talk. And then it's just been great since then. Right. And then now, like the 2019
Was it English? What did you say?
2019. Okay, so Tricia's there with Laisha. Laisha comes with this lizard, this dragon thing. She
Bearded dragon.
Laisha and her dragon, right? So Tricia comes over there. I want to introduce you to my daughter. That hurt my voice. My daughter. And so Laisha's there. She's like, hi. You know, hand goes up, head goes down. Like, hello. Hi, Laisha. How are you doing? And so we got to talking a little bit more. And this is the funniest part. This is the best part. I hope I could do it justice. So we got to talking about, you know, age, telling her age. And I said, Laisha, how old do you think I am? And she goes, 30. She's like, oh my God, I just broke his heart. She was like, it was like she just, you know, I don't know, crashed somebody's Buick or something. Mortified that she had guessed wrong. It was so funny. It was so funny. And, you know, we went and ate lunch and had ice cream and everything. But, you know, it was just the best. And instantly, you know, Laisha is such a good girl, such a good kid. And I'm glad she wasn't expecting to be on tonight. And she probably won't do a lot of talking because that's Laisha.
Just laughing.
Yeah. She'll laugh on cue, right? You laugh on cue. Go. There you go. But I've come to love so many of you with the different things there. So I'm going to start again back, Karen. You know, other than the times that we've met, if you would share one of the more memorable experiences there at the Take on the Worlds that you've been to, or maybe a talk that impacted you quite a bit that helped you get a little further.
You know, they're all so good and so different. I think part of the reason that I'm even here tonight is Greg Widener's talk this last year. He shared his testimony, and I always thought my testimony was like milquetoast, like nobody wants to hear it. You know, I had, you know, a loving family, you know, kind of just boring as far as testimonies, because a lot of people have come from terrible, terrible things, and their testimony is so compelling. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh yeah, people want to listen to them because they want to hear that massive change that God has done in their life. And I'm thinking, nobody wants to hear my testimony. It's like, it's nothing. I was a good kid. You know, I had a loving family. I grew up, my parents are still married. You know, there's no drama. There's no drama. There's no, I wouldn't say from the outside, it looks like a massive change, but the change is in me. And I know what Yah has done for me. But people wouldn't see that in a testimony. And he got up on the stage and gave his testimony. And I was like, his is even more perfect than mine. Maybe I could do that someday. I'm like, okay, he did it even better. He like married his high school sweetheart. And, you know, I at least had some rebellion in there for, you know, a brief period of time. And I thought, you know what, if he has that in what I thought was an uncompelling testimony, and yet he's sharing what Yah has given him, the wisdom that Yah has given him. And I felt very convicted in my heart that when someone asked me to join something or do something, because I had come out of the church, I dissolved all the Bible studies that I was in that weren't Torah observant, just because they didn't like what I had to say, and they kind of all fell apart. And I was trying to do it lovingly, but I'm sure I did it pretty caustically sometimes. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I
was just asking you for your memorable moment and maybe something that impacted you to change. So you're doing. So coming out of that, I had a very strong conviction that whenever asked to join a group, to do it and to give whatever wisdom Yah has given me
and share it in the most loving way I can in that venue. So I have since, my husband hosts, or he doesn't host, he leads a Bible study through his, through the regular church. And so I've started going to that, and I drop seeds when I can, and I try not to be, in your face confrontational, but I try to share what Yah has asked, what he's given me, because if I don't, then I'm not a good steward with what he's given me. And so when you asked, I was like, oh, darn, that's one of those times I have to speak, even though this is not, I'm not someone who puts themselves out there in public. I'm a behind the scenes, walk into a room and nobody knows I exist.
I absolutely understand that. My wife is the very, very same way, but some of the most life-changing things can happen when we're putting places that are not in our comfort zone. We have to rely on him. We find out more about who we are, as people, what we're really like to ourselves. It makes us face a lot of things that are uncomfortable about ourselves, really. It's in that regard, if we're trying to think clearly, we can recognize those things, that need to be dealt with. It's absolutely crucial when we're put in those uncomfortable situations to ask that question, why am I so uncomfortable with this? And get to the root of some things that, our Father wants to reveal. So I fully get you, Karen. And I can remember even back in the NIC TV chats, folks, if you don't know Karen or has known Karen even as long as I have, this lady is so deep. She has deep thoughts and she researches so deeply into stuff. So if you're looking for some meat to chew on, just ask for some of Karen's notes and be ready to be busy for quite some time, because you're going to go down some deep stuff to give you stuff to chew on. So I just love her so much for that. And if there's some meat to chew on, just go back and look at Karen's notes. She has got some wisdom in her. So that's awesome. So Tricia.
It's all from Yah.
Tricia, the same question to you. What was is there an impactful talk or something that changed you or deepened your relationship from one of the conferences, or a memorable moment that going forward?
Mainly for me, I didn't really get, Nathan Reynolds, I think him, and of course everybody sits down and watches Rob's. Let me just go back to the first 2017. That was probably my favorite conference because everyone was singly located. We were all isolated in one room. There wasn't breakout rooms. Everyone was in the same location other than stepping outside. So if you wanted to see someone, we just kind of walked, 10 feet across the room. That was don't get me wrong, the venue that we had at 2018 and 19 was phenomenal. So it was great. She got to go. Our whole family got to go. Thanks to you for calling me out, and then Chris, having us come. But it was more personal. It was more personal. It was more intimate, I guess. Do you think it was more intimate?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And it was smaller, not that bigger isn't, but you were just like, I was 5 feet away from Rob. We stood in line and talked, and the reason I heckled when you said your speech was because I asked Rob, I was like, hey, I mentioned something to Chad about his speech, and I was going to hold up one of those auctioneer numbers while you were speaking. And he said, please don't. Because if it were me, I would completely lose it. So it was his advice that saved you. I did afterwards. So I was going to hold up one.
I appreciate you, Rob, for doing that, man. That would have been tough. But that's just the atmosphere and the relationships that are formed there. And going from the 2017 one to last years. I'm going to answer my own question there. If I had to pick, moments that was the most impactful for me, and it was being able to sit around the campfire then late at night afterwards. And it wasn't because of just the people who were there, which was the thing, but being there allowed me to think about the day and the day's events and the people that I got to speak to. And like what Audrey, I think, mentioned here in the chat, is being able to put faces to names each year. Somebody who wasn't able to make it the year before, getting to meet them face to face and getting to see their, the names to their faces. It was just so fantastic. And all those small moments, here's the thing that I like to tell people too. Those moments that you've had with people, they can't be taken away from you. The enemy, the adversary, your personal enemies, they can't take those away from you. They're yours and yours forever. Those moments are there and locked in. You have them. They're with you. And those people are a part of your lives. And I just love that there are things that man, women, beast, spiritual place, they can't take away from you. And that includes you too, Laisha. That conversation, and getting to talk and meet with you and then, us being able to go out and have lunch and chit chat, those things are precious to me. And I saw some of your personality, that it's your mom and I were similar, and I got to see yours too. Laisha, I'm going to ask you just one small question. In the short time that we're there, did you enjoy yourself, and did you see that it was different than stuff that you had experienced before? And if the answer is no, that's okay too. It's your answer. But
no, I had a really good time. I think it was the second year that I went that I had more fun because it was just my mom and I didn't.
19.
Yeah, the year before I had someone that was constantly in my ear telling me this and that, and don't you think that this is weird? Like, don't you think that this is wrong? And that,
we're not going to name names.
Sure. I just felt like I couldn't enjoy my time. But the second year I had a really good time, and the people that I met, it was really memorable for me. So,
yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing with the following year, the 2018, when we went. You can't pick a favorite because each year is different. That second year was the largest by far. We met so many people. Rob, remember Rob Cater from England? Hi, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! Now he's Uncle Rob. Yeah. He's Uncle Rob to us. We ate breakfast. We ate mineral. Yeah, we ate meals with him. Every meal he sat at our table.
Did you want some rocks, Tricia? Was it good rocks? Little lead.
Yeah, and like you said, the connections we make. We FaceTime. What's Facebook Messenger video? It's not FaceTime, but it's whatever that is. Yeah. But we've done that several times. We've made the connections that you make there. And like you said, I didn't really get to sit and hear a lot of the what do you call them? Speeches? Those things. I was too busy.
Presentations.
Thank you. Running her to the store, getting food for Joby, trying to keep them entertained. So it was less of me soaking it in, but more of making sure that they were enjoying themselves, the family, trying to spend family time. But the thing that I like is the, what do you call it, where they play basketball? The gym. Wow, I feel like $1,000 pyramid here. That thing.
If this show goes 2 hours, you'll not be able to talk by the end of it.
But there's just little moments that you can connect. You can sit. I got to sit and talk with Rob Blackwell. Hey, by the way, Rob, I'm still waiting on that song you're supposed to write me. So a little shout out to him. I told him, it's like, I'm a singer, but I have nothing to sing. And he's like, well, I've got all kinds of songs. I can write one in my sleep. I'm like, okay. So anyway, just call out, call him out on that one.
Right.
But those connections, you get to sit. And I finally met, what's his name?
Sure you did.
Wow. Chad Taylor for the first time. Sorry, Chad. Oh my God. And
Wait, sorry, me, Chad, or sorry, Chad?
Jeremiah Durd. Oh my God, he's a hoot. Just the people that you see and you just get to hug their necks and spend a little bit of quality time together, one-on-one, and you bond. There's just that bond. So
You know, one of the common things, about these Take on the Worlds when we're sitting here talking is in amazing and cool to me is testimony after testimony is not going to be about the theology that they gained when it comes to these things or how the word deepened them, which it does because it's usually stuff you digest after. But the things that are so big in people's life are these personal connections that we have with each other. And well, hello,
Maya.
This is Maya. Hi, Maya.
She's been hiding.
Adorable.
Oh.
Thanks for joining us. But it's those friendships, and so when you think about these crazy things that are going on right now and people telling people that they have to stay away, can you see how they try to break down those things that are the most important to all of us? This is where it's got to come. You got to say no. These people are my family, and I've got a pretty large family. You're going to have a really hard time trying to keep us from not getting together and hanging out and talking to one another. That's where the rubber meets the road. And conversations like this is something that we really need to do and take advantage of while we can. Now, both you guys were mentioning before we came on the air about the studies that you do and hanging out in the chat. But I really encourage each other to do what Tricia has mentioned and what Karen has mentioned, not just on, Disputed Lands Night or Biblical Health Night or Flat Out Insights Night. But you guys as individuals really need to make it the effort to get on a video conference with somebody. If you can't meet them in person, say, hey, is there somebody out there who would like to chit chat and get on there and get to know each other and talk with one another? Because those bonds that are formed, they're unbreakable. They really are unbreakable. They become your friends for the rest of your lives. And like I said already, they're moments that can't be stolen from you. You need to learn to guard those things, protect those things. Those are the things that you really say, you know what, this is the most important thing to me in my life. More precious than gold, more precious than silver is that time with each other. So, I'm going to be there. Take on the World 2020. I know that there's questions that people have one way or the other. If for some reason they try to prevent, us from gathering, we'll do something. We'll hold conferences online or something. We'll make sure that people there, we get a chance to talk, we get a chance to chat. I am praying and hoping that there's not going to be that kind of resistance to that this year. Wherever it is that it's being held. But there's going to be a Take on the World 2020, one way or the other, is what I'm saying.
Well, the venue this year would be perfect because there's plenty of room outside if we had to be outside and keep our distance.
Stop it.
I'm not distancing. Somebody's getting a hug, and I'm knocking down.
That's right. That's right. Somebody's going to get a hug. And those people, see, every year too, there's people right now. They've just found the Take on the World family this year. And this is really kind of, we're at the edge of where people can financially, they're going to decide for themselves whether they can go or not to something like this and during these times. And so it's perfect that you ladies, my dear friends, are on here right now to give people an encouragement. Maybe they've had a question. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear in the world. Over here, the shadow around the corner. It's like buttercups. But anyway, it's like we got, if you are hesitant about the decision you wanted to make or commit to, I'm encouraging you right now, those people who just come across Take on the World this year, make that commitment. Find a way to come to Take on the World 2020. I'm telling you, these ladies can testify to it. You'll make the dearest friends, the closest of acquaintances, and people that you can count on. You'll get a new phone number in your phone of somebody you can call when you're struggling or having a hard time or getting down. Laisha doesn't know it, but I have her number too. and she's going to get a phone call from me too. She's going to get a phone call from me. So, yo, Laisha, what's up? What's going on? Because you guys are important. We're important. You're now part of
Ian's in the chat. How come he's not on here with us?
Who's that?
Ian.
Well,
Ian's hanging out. He had to work late. His hours got changed on him again.
Speaking of Ian,
Because I had a story to tell about Ian.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
He's got to sit there and listen to it.
I don't know if he remembers meeting me or not, but I felt convicted to not participate in the group meal on Shabbat. That was my own personal conviction. So I went down and I was sitting at one of the picnic tables down by the water, and I had my Bible study out, and he was chasing one of his little ones down the hill, and he stopped to talk to me. And I was just like, okay, I don't know this guy, but he was just really sweet. He was like, what are you doing? Because I was there by myself. And I think he wanted to make sure that I was okay, I think.
Sure.
And it was just a really sweet gesture. And I was just like, I'm just eating my dinner and, studying the Bible. And he was like, cool. And then, one of his kids ran off, and he was like, well, I got to go. And, he went off. But I didn't know if he remembered that or not. I was going to ask him if he did.
Right. Well, that's, yeah. Ian, do you remember that? Is he still in the chat? I missed him in the chat. There he is, DNG. Hey, do you remember that? There's a delay, so there's going to be awkward silence. Hey, do you guys want to do an awkward pause?
No.
Okay, awkward pause.
Tricia was going to say something.
No. Well, apparently, Laisha, I didn't know Ian. Apparently, I saw him. She's like, hey, there's some guy in a kilt. And she's like, I thought it was some play rehearsal costume thing. I don't know guys wore kilts. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know who he is. I was like, I don't remember seeing him. But
walking down the hall, and I was in the car, and I was like, I had to do a double take. I was like, what is he wearing?
It's like, well, it's a conference, so I don't know. Kind of conference.
Everybody will want to do it next year.
Yeah. But it's like the whole summary that I would summarize, although I'm not ending in a summary, but like the Take on the World, it is a family reunion, meeting family that you've never met for the first time. And it grows every year. That's my take. It's like, I met like Jennifer Holmes last year. Didn't know her, beautiful lady, sweet little girl. Oh my God, I got a story about her.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah, so we're standing there. I didn't know who she was until like later. I'm like, oh my God, that's her. So she's we all eat, and there's beans. I love beans because I'm vegetarian. Well, you know what happens? You get a little gassy, okay? You get a little bloated. These things happen when you eat beans. And so the year before, in 2018, when I was sitting with Rob Cater, the poor guy, I'm trying really hard. I'm like, man, my stomach. He's like, you okay? I was like, well, my back hurts. My back hurts. And I was sitting there forever. He's like, okay. So I'd go to the bathroom, and it's like, man, nothing's coming. It's coming out. I got to go, but nothing's coming. So, boy, I just said that out loud.
Yeah, live in front of hundreds of people. No problem.
Yeah, I did. So, hey, it's just a byproduct.
That's part of it. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little miserable sitting beside somebody from England, and you don't want to, smell up the area. And, yeah. So anyway, so the following year, she's standing there in the foyer, and she's rubbing her belly. It's like, so I walk up to her, okay? And I was like, oh, honey, I didn't know you were pregnant. Honey, I'm not pregnant. Here's the thing about it, because I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She said, "No, that's okay. I just ate too much." And my stomach exploded. Well, you didn't look pregnant because you're really tiny, but you were standing there rubbing your belly. She said, "Oh my God, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore."
Tricia likes to break down social boundaries in a hurry.
Yeah.
So if you're on
Jennifer, I don't know if she remembers that, but yeah, that's top that one.
That's funny. That's so funny.
I want to answer Chris's question in the chat.
Now. Oh gosh, I have no idea what I was going to say now.
What's Chris's question? I can't see anything.
Chris's question says,
what did
okay,
George
we'll put it
Moss-
on the screen, and we'll put this out there. It says, take on the world trivia. What do George Moss, Amber Plaster, John Pounders, Rob Skiba, and Chad Schaefer and Zach Struharic have in common when it comes to Take on the World TV?
They've been to all three.
Well, I've been to all three, and I think they were all there.
Yeah, but you're on the show right now.
It's gone.
Yes, that is. I'm pretty sure that is the. Well, there may be something else, but I'm pretty sure that is the question he was going for. John, thank you so much for the gift. We really appreciate it. John, you mean so much to us that you're a part of the Take on the World community, along with the other people that are in the chat. I mean, this is the stuff. This is what gets us going. I have so many hundreds of little moments like this. This last year's Take on the World TV, I got to baptize not just one but 3 people during that time. It was just a phenomenal experience. Like I said, the campfire chats, talking to each and every one of you for those little moments. It was really hard because I wanted to talk. I wanted to have those moments with everybody who's there, and it's just impossible to do. But each year, I get to have another conversation with somebody else, and there are people that have impacted your life. So. Let me just, kind of break that mystery down, kind of shared Ian's little story there and how I kind of made it awkward for him a moment or two there, at that Take on the World 18 or 19. I think it was Take on the World 18. The people who are speaking, they don't consider themselves any better than you. So I want to encourage you, guys, if there is a speaker that has impacted your life at one of the events, please let them know. Find a moment and let them know, because that means so much to them. One of the hard things to do on this side of things, whether it's doing a show or speaking, is that you meet hundreds of people and you get emails, you get hate messages, you get people calling you shills and this, that, and the other. And it gets kind of hard sometimes because there are periods where that's all that you get, especially if you said something that might be controversial, whatever. But you're coming up and sharing your life, sharing your testimony and saying, hey, out of all the people, that I got to listen to, what you said or what you did or a presentation you gave made things click for me. It changed my life, my perspective. It allowed me to be on the road that I am now. Please tell them. Please let them know, because that's the fuel. You guys, my dear friends, are the fuel I have to do this every week. I shared on this show not long ago for this year, is like before all the junk, the COVID stuff or whatever started happening, it was like, this year is going to be a year I need more rest. And it would be easy for me even to not do Monday nights, to do the disputed land. Because before, the last 3 years hit, I like everybody else, I'm just another, straw in the straw, in the stack of straw.
What?
another oh, goodness, I got arthritis. I could be another piece of hay in the hay bale, and I could be anonymous. I could go off and do my thing and nobody know any different. There was no responsibility perceived to be in front of people. But it would be real easy for me, because I'm feeling that pull too, to just be alone with the Lord, to be quiet and to study and research, because that how often do we get to really do that? And I miss that aspect. That's just a confession. I'll confess right now. I miss that aspect of being able to do that because I don't get to do that so much anymore. It's not as easy to find. And I'm a slow person. When it comes to getting into doing that. What are you laughing at?
You're slow.
Well, it's like Mr. Obvious. Chad, like, we didn't know that. But I'm slow. My sentence was, it takes me a little while to get into my deep thought process where I forget about the stuff that's going on, and so because it takes time to get into that area, it takes me a longer time when I'm doing the research to where things are clicking for me. So some people can get in there and study real quick and they're right there. Not for me. It takes a couple hours, to really just sit down before everything is distracted. And it's hard to find that now. So that's when I say it would be easy for me to do that, is because that's why, because it takes me a while to get into that.
You have to make that time.
But on the other hand, it's like, I can't. So to dissuade your fears there, the Father has so blessed me each and every time. As I've prayed 3 times specifically, I can think of just right off. I'm not going to mention it, but every time that I've prayed about doing disputed lands, the Father has just been there the next day answering a prayer regarding doing this show. And so to walk away from doing disputed lands would be, for me, turning my back on him. And I just can't do it. I just can't. You guys
you can't.
We have to be obedient to our callings. And that goes to the last thing that I want to kind of end the show, because we've gone an hour.
Well, I would say before you end it, I wanted to bring something.
I'm not ending it just yet.
Okay, because there's something I wanted to bring up that's totally different about Take on the World.
Okay,
and you kind of touched on it.
I just want to say, it's so important, I say in all these shows, to carry out, and be faithful to the callings, whatever you're being called to do, because we do not know the impacts on lives whether each of us are going to have, whether you're a speaker or just someone in attendance. As these ladies' testimony is shared, your attendance can impact somebody else's life, because they're going to meet somebody of like mind, like heart, like spirit in the right place, who needed somebody just like you to be there, to become a lifelong friend. So everybody there impacts everybody else. Amen. And it's so valuable to all of us. Each of you come and be there. You will gain and give and so much more. But anyway, go ahead, Karen.
I just wanted to share that about Take on the World, that something that impacted me. My husband used to race airplanes, and you would always be like behind lines, right? People had to pay to get in to see the pilots, to be close to them, and even then, if a pilot didn't want to interact with the public, they wouldn't, right? They would, like be in their own little area and be shut off, and they just wouldn't make themselves public. And I feel like sometimes a lot of these events can be like that, where you don't really interact with the speakers. You either pay extra to have something special with them, a luncheon or something. Take on the World is totally different. From the very first night, I love 2018, when the very first night we got there, the speakers are right there with you. They're people, right? They're not held up on some pedestal, and they interact with everybody. And then all of your meals, they're right there with you. you can run into them in the hall, that, they're either, if they have a booth, that you can go talk to them, at their table. Everything was very easy access to interact with the speakers. And I just thought that was amazing, because you don't have that kind of interaction at most situations like this, where the speakers are cut off from the general public. And I really appreciated that. It was, it got me a chance to meet you, Chad.
Oh, Gersh.
But you get to have lunch with Rob Skiba. I mean,
Right.
that's just, and he's a guy having lunch. They're just
Rob,
people.
Yeah, that experience was the first experience I had with Rob too. Way back when he was doing the virtual house church was my first meeting him too. It's the first one, that I saw. I got intrigued with him by an author. I found, heard about his book first, and then I, following him through Facebook or social media, he was talking about his virtual house church. Back then, it was just Blog Talk, and I got in there early on and everything. But he was the first guy who talked to me through Facebook as someone I was looking up to. I was like, oh man, this guy, he's a freaking genius, he's just, and plus his charisma. I mean, it's hard to deny that the man just has charisma from the Father. But he sat there and took the time to talk to me. And I was like, that instantly, I was like, oh, I love this guy. I mean, he's not so high that you can't reach him or talk to him or feel so, have this thing that he just ignores you. He talked to me. It's like instantly impacted. Jessie in our chat tonight, she was the first person I ever met at any conference I ever attended in the conference. And, she gave me
met one of the very best people you could ever meet.
My wife and I were going in to the conference, and she was the first person, she was scooting in too. I think that was the first one she had ever attended too. I could be wrong about that. But instantly, I'm never going to forget that. Jessie's, sweet Jessie, as I call her, first person. And each of us should have those moments. Each of us could have those moments where we can do that. So I'm just going to encourage everybody, if you were on the fence, about all this stuff, hopefully tonight has been a place of calm and quiet for you guys to hang out with us, in the midst of this crazy world. The more you spend time with the Father and in his word and with each other like this, the less scary the things that are going on the news feeds and stuff like that seem, the less, crazy they seem. And the stronger you can be about just being yourself and not letting the things that are going on there affect you, but being one who affects change in the people around you. To be one who instills calm, peace, love, joy, patience in the others around you. And even more so if you're the only one in a group of people, right? How often can you be one in a group of people where you're not affected by the group? Be the person that's so strong in your faith that you're making, the five that are totally, deep in this world and blind, making them uncomfortable by your peace, by your love, by your joy, and making the ones who are curious and hungry, like, what is it about this person that they can be so calm, be so peaceful, have so much joy in this world? And it's because of the Father, and he doesn't let his children go, and he's changed lives forever. Forever, our lives are changed. And I love you ladies deeply. You're mine. You're mine. These ladies are part of, the Disputed Lands prayer team. Karen's not on Facebook, so I've got to go.
I have to get my updates to Karina
to get to her, but she's in the chat. Thank goodness she's got her arbiter there. But part of the
I still pray for you.
And these guys are everything. They're why I'm allowed to continue and do and have the strength. They've prayed for me on so many occasions and continue to do so. And it's just a wonderful time. So I want to encourage again. The last thing I'm going to say again, just encourage you. If you've been on the fence this year, maybe finances are tight. Pray with us. reach out to people, find something to sacrifice, that coffee or whatever. I want to encourage you. You can do it.
Pray, because I couldn't afford to go the first year I went, and made a way. And I was blessed beyond measure.
Start right now. You'll be amazed. It's not really that expensive. You could save back $7 a day now for the next couple weeks, and you would have enough money for the ticket to go. I mean, and that's not a lot of money. Gas, as far as gas getting there, maybe that's a struggle too. Reach out to another family and say, hey, let's pool our resources. Maybe we can travel together. You're near us. Let's just travel together on our way to do it. But
everyone is so personable. I mean, I don't remember meeting anyone there. Well, my memory that wasn't personable. Just saying.
Really don't think anybody has a chance not being personable with you, Tricia.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a little quick tidbit. Oh, I forget it. I quit English. I give up. I quit.
Nitpick?
Yeah, just a
Tidbit.
little snippet, okay, of how I met, the guy from England, Rob Cater.
Yeah.
So it was the Thursday night before the conference, and I love those, by the way, because you're just there socializing. Everyone's like this. You don't know who anybody is. Well, you do, but it's like, oh, hey, there's Robbie Davison sitting across from me eating pizza. First time I met him. It's just like, you're like, hey, and it's that kind of stuff. So Rob Cater, he's sitting there and he says something, and of course my mom's German, so I love accents, and he has this strong English accent, and I'm like, okay, so I just pretty much barreled the guy. I'm like, oh my God, where are you from? Interrupted him. And so he was talking to someone else, and I kept hammering him. So how do you hear? Blah, blah, blah. How'd you get here? And he's like, at first, I was taken aback because you just kept going and asking me questions like, oh my God, who is this girl? Am I getting interviewed? And now we're like, we're like this is because I show interest, and he had an accent. That's what it was. But that's how I got to know him. Just those.
You have no accent whatsoever.
Do what?
Y'all.
I don't know what he said. So
I said you have no accent whatsoever.
Oh yeah, I know. I sound like a hick. So I was trying to prep myself this evening. Okay, Tricia, speak slowly, articulate your words, so that you sound somewhat intelligent. So, but it's all gone. You get to talking and it's gone. It's out the window. It's too much fun. So anyway, that's my little snippet of how I met Rob Cater. And it's just like I don't know a stranger. I forget them, but it's like, if you're there, I'm probably going to talk to you. Oh, by the way, apparently I saw Aaron Sampson and Ian Chadwick. Had no idea who they were. It's like, oh, there's somebody. Hundreds of people. You can't, like you said, you can't talk to everybody, but it's like, oh, I saw him. Saw him there. And you wish you had the opportunity to talk to him next year, or this year, next time. Just watch out. Like that minute. Just watch out. I'll hound you.
That's really it, ladies. It went so quick. Our time is kind of up for tonight. I really have no other questions, here in front of hundreds of people that I want to pick your brains on, or knickknacks.
It's contagious.
Pigeonholes. What's the word, Tricia, I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I have to Google it, remember?
Yeah. This has been Disputed Lands. This is Take on the World TV. My name is Chad. Thanks for joining here and hanging out. Don't forget to like the show, share it on the social media, go back and watch it again. Remember these things, and maybe one of these days you're going to be a special guest on Take on the World TV. I just love you guys, and I'll be seeing you around in the chats and in the social medias. This everybody. Week. Guys, Leisha, thank you so much for coming on and talking so much. Next time you'll have to not talk so much, okay? All right. Bye, guys.
Get right, get inside, get hungry, word of God appetite. Everlasting water, never again thirsty. To disputed lands, take a journey. Get right, get inside, get hungry, word of God appetite. Everlasting water, never again thirsty. To disputed lands, take a journey. Get right, get inside, get hungry, word of God appetite.